They called it moon dust, soft romantic, the stuff of poems and fairy tales. But there was nothing soft about it. When Apollo 11 landed in the Sea of Tranquility in July 1969, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin became the first humans to walk on another world. The footage is burned into history. The flag, the footprints. One small step, what they didn't show you, was what happened when they climbed back inside the lunar module. Armstrong's first words weren't about the view, they were about the dust. It is everywhere. The interior of the LM was designed to be pristine, a sterile metal chamber. But within minutes of sealing the hatch, every surface was coated. The dust clung to their suits. It clung to their gloves. It clung to their helmets. And when they removed their helmets, it hung in the air. Buzz Aldrin described the smell. He said, "It smelled like spent gunpowder, metallic, sharp, wrong." But the smell was the least of their concerns. Lunar regolith is not like sand on Earth. Sand on a beach has been worn smooth by billions of years of wind and water erosion. Lunar dust has no wind, no water, no erosion. It is the shattered remnants of asteroid impacts, microscopic shards of volcanic glass, and jagged silicate fragments. Each particle has sharp, irregular edges at the microscopic level. Sizes range from 0.1 microns to 500 microns. A human hair is 70 microns wide. This dust had been sitting on the surface of the moon for billions of years, bombarded by solar radiation, electrically charged by the solar wind. In vacuum, it becomes electrostatically active. When the astronauts walked, they kicked it up. It didn't settle like dust on Earth, it floated. It stuck to everything. Harrison Schmitt was a geologist, the only scientist ever to walk on the moon. Apollo 17, December 1972. After his first moonwalk, Schmitt climbed back into the lunar module and removed his helmet. Within minutes, he started sneezing. His throat became irritated. His sinuses swelled. He called it lunar hay fever. But hay fever is an allergic reaction. This wasn't an allergy. This was mechanical irritation. Eugene Cernan, Schmidt's crewmate, later wrote that moon dust was one of the most aggravating, restricting facets of lunar surface exploration. It destroyed seals on equipment. It jammed mechanical joints. It scratched helmet visors so badly they became nearly opaque, and it got into their lungs. NASA's post-mission medical reports documented respiratory symptoms in multiple Apollo crews: coughing, throat irritation, sinus inflammation, chest tightness. The symptoms faded within days. The crews were given clean bills of health. The missions continued. But no one asked the question that matters now. What happens when you inhale microscopic mineral particles over the course of several hours? What happens when those particles lodge deep inside lung tissue? What happens over decades? We know what happens when workers inhale silica dust on Earth. It is called silicosis, a chronic, irreversible lung disease. The particles scar the lung tissue. They trigger inflammation. Over time, the lungs lose their ability to transfer oxygen into the bloodstream. Lunar regolith is roughly 45% silicon dioxide, the same compound, but lunar dust has sharper edges, smaller particle sizes, different surface chemistry. Whether it is more dangerous, we don't know. In 2005, a study published by NASA researchers tested lunar dust simulant on human lung cells in a laboratory within 24 hours. The cells showed DNA damage. The particles were small enough to penetrate cell membranes, sharp enough to disrupt cellular structures. The study exposed mice to lunar dust analogs. The results showed inflammatory responses in lung tissue, scarring, oxidative stress. These were simulants, not actual lunar regolith. The real dust could behave differently. In 2008, Lawrence Taylor, a planetary scientist at the University of Tennessee, examined actual Apollo samples under an electron microscope. He found that lunar dust particles have sharp fractured edges covered in nanophase metallic iron. These iron fragments form when micrometeorites vaporize and redeposit on dust grains. Taylor stated that lunar dust presented unknown biological risks. Here is what we know happened to the Apollo astronauts. 12 men walked on the moon between 1969 and 1972. All of them inhaled lunar dust, some more than others. 8 have died. Neil Armstrong died at 82, Alan Bean at 86, Pete Conrad at 69 in a motorcycle accident, Edgar Mitchell at 85, James Irwin at 61 from heart complications, Alan Shepard at 74, Yon Young at 87. Eugene Cernan at 82. 4 are still alive. Buzz Aldrin is 94. David Scott is 92. Charles Duke is 89. Harrison Schmitt is 89. None of them have been diagnosed with lung disease attributed to lunar dust exposure. There is no proven medical link between their health outcomes and the dust they inhaled. But here is what we don't know. No long-term epidemiological study has been conducted on Apollo crews focused on respiratory health and lunar dust exposure. The sample size is 12 people, too small to establish statistical significance. Too small to detect rare outcomes. Silicosis can take decades to manifest. The Apollo missions ended over 50 years ago. The astronauts are in their 80s and 90s. At that age, respiratory decline is common. It blends into the background of aging. If lunar dust caused subtle, cumulative damage, we might never know. NASA conducted post-mission medical monitoring of the Apollo crews, routine physicals, standard assessments. But there was no systematic protocol for tracking pulmonary function over decades. No baseline measurements taken before and after lunar exposure. No control group for comparison. We missed the window. In 2016, NASA finally acknowledged the gap in knowledge. They began funding research into the biological effects of lunar regolith 40, 4 years after the last Apollo mission. The new Artemis program plans to send astronauts back to the moon. The first crewed landing is scheduled for 2026 or later. NASA is designing new spacesuits with improved dust mitigation, tighter seals, better filtration, airlock systems to minimize dust entering the habitat. But the moon has not changed. The dust is still there, waiting. When Artemis astronauts step onto the lunar surface, they will sink into the same regolith that covered the Apollo crews. They will kick up the same electrostatically charged particles. And unless the engineering is perfect, the dust will find its way inside. The International Space Station has protocols. When cargo ships dock, hatches remain sealed while the docking area is inspected. Contaminants are vacuumed before the crew enters. On the moon, there is no airlock between the surface and the lander. The astronauts walk outside, they work, they collect samples, and when they return, they bring the dust with them. It clings to their suits. It floats in microgravity. It becomes airborne. The moment pressure is restored. The Apollo astronauts knew this. They tried to brush it off. They tried to vacuum it. It didn't matter. The dust was inside within minutes. In 1972, Harrison Schmitt stood on the moon and looked back at Earth. He saw the whole planet suspended in the black fragile. Blue. He didn't know if the gray powder coating his suit posed any long-term risk. No one did. We sent them to the moon with slide rules and courage. We brought them home as heroes. We never stopped to study what invisible effects they might have carried back. In the Apollo 17 mission transcript, Eugene Cernan describes trying to clean the dust out of the cabin before liftoff. He said it was impossible. It is just everywhere. I mean everywhere. The dust followed them back to Earth. Samples were sealed in vacuum containers, but some of it escaped. Technicians who handled the lunar samples reported similar symptoms: sneezing, irritation, respiratory discomfort. Brief, acute, temporary. Whether any long-term effects developed, we don't know. No one tracked them either. In the vacuum of the moon, lunar dust particles develop sharp, fractured edges. They don't weather. They don't smooth out. They remain as jagged as the day they were created by an asteroid impact. When you inhale them, they don't dissolve. They don't break down easily. They can lodge in lung tissue. And because the moon has no atmosphere, there is no oxidation. The particles remain chemically reactive in ways Earth dust is not. Studies suggest that lunar dust may generate hydroxyl radicals when exposed to moisture. These radicals can damage DNA. They can attack cell membranes. They can trigger inflammatory responses. The word is may, not will. The Apollo astronauts were exposed for hours. The Artemis astronauts will be exposed for days, maybe weeks. We are planning to build a permanent base on the moon. NASA's Artemis program envisions long-duration missions, lunar habitats, operations lasting months. If the biological risks are real, we need to know before we commit to long-term presence. We have learned how to land on the moon. We have learned how to walk on it. We have not learned whether we can live there safely. In 2008, Larry Taylor said something during a press briefing. He was asked if lunar dust posed health risks to astronauts. He didn't hedge. We need to take this seriously. We need more research. 50 years after Apollo, we still don't have definitive answers. The dust is too fine to filter completely, too sticky to remove, too chemically active to ignore. And the astronauts who walked on the moon are the only people in history who know what it felt like to breathe it. Their experience is irreplaceable, their data incomplete. Because if lunar dust does carry long-term risks, we never designed a study capable of detecting them. We built rockets, we built landers, we built spacesuits. We forgot to build the follow-up, and now the clock is running out, not because the dust is killing them, but because the opportunity to learn from them is disappearing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.